Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am here with another walkthrough of a deck that I unboxed live. Did I do a walkthrough of this? No, I didn't. For a split second I thought I did a walkthrough of it. Because I kind of already did. I wasn't able to get good image quality of it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a walkthrough of it. So this is the limited edition by Liminal 11 White Numen Tarot by Alba, what's her full name? Ballesta Gonzalez. You can follow her here on YouTube. She's on Instagram. I don't know what else, but I'll links in the description down below, as well as to the Liminal 11 web shop, as well as where you can buy this deck that isn't the special edition. Which really the differences between the special edition and the standard edition that's published by Sterling Ethos, I believe, or distributed by Sterling. I'm not 100% sure. Is that this version has gold edges on it and comes in a tin box and has a bunch of other extra stuff. But for the most part, like the deck images, the card stock, the box quality, and the book is gonna be all the same. So yeah. Let's see. So it comes out like this. One of these. This is the new thing that Liminal 11 is doing with their boxes, with their decks. So yeah, let's see. Let's put this to the side. Here's the sides of the box. You know, in the backs, I think I already showed you. But just so you know what it looks like, you know, so you can tell the difference between it'll say Sterling Ethos and it has the tree logo here instead of the Liminal 11 logo there. So yeah, here's the box on the inside with the Liminal 11 on there. Won't show, but yeah. Just want to show you all the specs and the details. But like I said, it's like, I don't know how much of a difference, probably not much from what I've seen. So yeah, so this is they call it a sacred animal tarot. And like through the guidebook, I'm like, okay. And it's not like blatantly like animals only. It's like the Numen are like, they're essentially like, it's another word for like, not human, essentially. It's like divine, it's spiritual, it's so the animals are representative of spirit here, I guess. But it doesn't rely on like Native American themes. It goes more to like how the idea of how before animals were domesticated and before, you know, essentially in the Paleolithic times, you know, before like I said, before animals were domesticated, that, you know, animals were venerated and deified. So yeah, I got also with the limited edition, by the way, got 18 out of 1111. And so yeah, let's see what else is there. There's a lot more to it. It does reference this cave painting, the Dancing Sorcerer, I believe it's what it's called. No, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's also referenced in the world card. Like the world card is supposed to represent this cave painting that was here in this, and it talks about it here. The Dancing Sorcerer, I call it the Dancing Sorcerer because that's the name of the book that it's like that I like first heard of it on from Anathema Publishing, and talks about that, and I'm like, oh, how interesting. Anyways, moving on. Let's carry on. Let me get this camera closer. Okay, so I'm like, maybe like this. I wanted to show everything, and I needed to get a good picture of the metal tin. So yeah, I think I already showed you the gilded edges. Here's the backs. I feel like I haven't been showing the backs so much, and these backs, they're okay, you know. So yeah, here we have the Fool with the dogs here as canine companions. We have the Magician. She says that like he holds up the sky with his staff, and the reference of above and below is referenced in his hands, and you know, it's grounded in the ground, and he's holding up the sky with the staff as well. So yeah, there's a lot of like also little like floating things around the cards, like here, like this, the symbols here, the crescent and the moon is supposed to be reference that, but it's so like simplified, it doesn't initially trigger that to me for some reason. They're usually like clouds or spheres, orbs, like right here, the little orb here. I more and more I'm looking at it, I'm like, it kind of is very Adventure Time like, and it's, for some reason, it gives me that vibe. So I love this emperor, how he's like, how he has, his hands are bloodied, and like from so much energy it's like creating heat, and it's steaming off and evaporating off of his hands. We have the Hierophant here, which was a little bit, I'm like, okay, but apparently she draws her power from the two beasts either side of her, not necessarily that she is, you know, up to them. But though I will say, I wish that was a little bit more indicated in the depictions here. Here we have the lovers. In the guidebook, she talks about how these two snakes, they can be either two separate snakes, or it's just one two-headed snake wrapping around the entire world, meeting itself again right here in this moment. You have the Chariot guiding this beast through the waters. Strength with a tiger, love it. Here we have the Hermit, and this is, I think, a good one. I was like, what is this? What is going on here? And I think this is where the guidebook really shows, like, okay, it does actually talk about and explain what's going on, you know. The Hermit holds aloft the lamp which has guided him all the way here to the portal. Through this portal he will not leave this world, but transcend it. Once a beast, he is raised to walk upon two legs and has an almost human appearance. He is accompanied by the spirit of the snake and the eagle, friends to those who abandoned and the accepted ways of the world. The Hermit's one remaining barrier to passing through the portal are his antlers, for only by losing the last vestiges of his former life can he move forward. Only then can his journey inward begin. So there you go. Here are the Wheel of Fortune here, and I like what is said about like the active knife and this passive orb here, but nothing's really talked about how it's 4 earth signs and it's 1 fire sign, and it's like we have Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn, but then like Sagittarius for some reason. I'm not sure. I'm like, why is that? I'm going to choose to ignore it, but I do like how she has for some reason, like how she mentioned that, like the active and the passive being wielded together into one, in one hand. Here we have Justice, a little bit lackluster for me. Very, you know, I wish she wasn't, I don't know what it is. It's fine, gets the job done, I guess, but. And then the Hanged Man looks a little bit too different from what I've seen in other decks. Throughout the deck, I should say, not in other decks. What the hell am I saying? In this deck, he feels like he belongs in another deck. That's what I mean to say. Here we have Death. I should adjust this. Temperance. We have a lot of the features here. They say that her third eye is open. I like how the halo here is also like indicating the sunrise or the sunset. We have, you know, the 2 cups obviously, and then we have the wings here, like she's half bird rising out of water, essentially is what they're saying here. Here we have the Devil, how it's an aspect of beauty, how there's like pain as well in here. So yeah. Here we have the Tower. This reminds me of the Metelli tarot, which is like a mini tarot. It doesn't have all the minor arcana, but the suits, the majors, I should say. It shows a man being struck down rather than a tower. Very reminiscent of that. Very human. Here we have the Star. And so they in the book it says like there's 3 flowing bodies of water here. It's her skirt is one of them, and then the 2 jars here, and the 3 cranes are guarding over them. Here we have the Moon. One is it talks about like how this one could be either leaping up or jumping, or it's floating, flying. You don't know, could be, who knows. Here we have the Sun, how she's bouncing the sun as a ball. Judgment. Touching in onto the inner self to express whatever's inside. Breaking open the circle right there, cracking it in half. And then here we have the World and how she talks about how she's dressed up as that sorcerer that's like half animal, half human, to embody that, you know, that being there. You know, she has the horns, she's dressed up in the animal furs, and she explains it much better in the book. And then I put here we have the Black Numen. I put these, when you get the deck, they're going to be at the back, at the end of the deck. But I put them here with the majors. And we have the White Numen, Night and Day, Yin and Yang, you know, the active and the creative and destructive, I should say. Ace of Wands. I just noticed a while back that the Ace of Wands, the club, very reminiscent to the Spanish barajas style of playing cards that look like the Marseille, but the clubs, it's like a club. Also like the Neoclásico, if you have that one, that Marseille Tarot, that club is very much reminiscent of that, because the rest of the wands are like more Rider-Waite-Smith. They're not so clubbish, they're more staff-like. So yeah. So what I like about this is that she takes a different approach to the 4 and the 5 of Wands, where the 4 of Wands is the commencement and the preparation and the transference into an initiation or a ritual or something. You know, she's going to go through a process right now. And here is the initiation, the trial, the testing at this moment right here. Here we have the 6 of Wands, Victory. I don't really get victory so much other than like the laurel leaves here, but because not sure, it's so dark, you know. But I was reading on the 10 of Cups about like success and the darkness behind that. Here we have the 7 of Wands. This one here, she relegates it to actual conflict and butting heads and fighting here. Here we have the 8 of Wands, and here are the Numen. And also, if you've seen throughout, like there's animals and all that, those are supposed to be the Numen. And whenever they appear in a spread, that's like supposed to represent something, and you're supposed to read into that as to whether they are guiding you or assisting you or testing you. And here you can obviously see there's barely anything other than just empty space and Numen, you know, just writhing around and moving around. Meanwhile here, there's barely any, but you do see these like little orbs and spheres. I wish she could like mention these little, like have a little section on like, here's what these little spheres mean. Here's what they mean in these colors and whatever, you know, because when it's like a black sphere, she said that it's like a void and it's negative and receptive and all that. I'm like, okay, but what about these other ones, you know? Here we have the 9 of Wands. She's wading through. She has the Numen represented on her cloth, on her dress here, rather than actually being on there. Or they're on there. Who knows? Like they're actually on there. I don't know. It kind of seems to me like they're drawn on there. They're embroidered. Here, it seems like they're actually surrounding her, writhing around her, wrapping around her. I'm not sure if these are leaves. I think they're mushrooms. I think they're supposed to be mushrooms. We're going to call them mushrooms. And then we have the Ace of Cups, the 2, again kind of harkening back to the lovers with the snakes meeting together in the middle. I do like it when the dress outfits, even though these people might be the same gender, the dress outfits represent the two qualities that they have that are complementary to each other. You know, the active red pink here, and then we have the more passive blue here. And then here we have the 3 of Cups. Benaba Wen also did a blog post on this, reviewing this deck, talking about the cards here, and she talks a lot. She goes into this card, this image here, and I like what she says there. I highly recommend you look at it. I'm gonna link it in the description down below as well. Here we have the 4 of Cups. It's a 4 of Cups. You know, sometimes a card is just You know, that's the struggle with these walkthroughs. It's like sometimes there's not much to say. The Five of Cups, I think it was, who was it? I think it was Annika when she did her walkthrough, when she did her first impressions of it. She was like, "What is this image?" And you know, there's a painting that it reminded her of, and I'm like, "Oh, from the Tarot of Delphi, it's the Enchantress of Cups. It's the depiction of Circe poisoning the ocean. I think it's Circe. I think that's her name. But yeah, it's the woman like pouring out a bowl of water, and there's a bunch of like sea monsters coming out of it, rising out of it." Here we have the Six of Cups. It's interesting how it's like dark and nighttime, and how there's this lamb here, and it seems like this being offered a warm cup of drink, hot chocolate perhaps. It's like a little cloud here, you know, coming out of it. So here I have the Seven of Cups. Talks about how these fish can transform into anything, and here one of them has transformed into a cup, or the cup is about to transform into a fish. Also talks about how the fish have the cups are the rest of the cups are represented as jewels on their head. I wasn't sure if she's indicating the little sign like the star. This I think it is on the heads and not these spheres on top of them, because she references these little spheres as charms or something. I'm not sure. So here we have the next stage here from that to this. You know, it's the cup or one of the fish has transformed into this woman. And now is like, okay, I can breathe out of water. I can now leave my old environment and move on to something else, and move on to dry land, essentially, is what's being indicated here. Here you have the Nine of Cups. Talks about like, I think she talks about like, what was it with this Nine of Cups? Let me see. I know she wrote something. I read through it. Usually I just read through the guidebook once, and then I'm like, okay, just in case I miss something. But for the most part, it's like with a deck like this, it's pretty straightforward, you know. Let's see. Oh yeah, the fish are diving from cup to cup. Yeah, that's the things. And I was noticing how there's like these vines, or they're like cables or pipes or tubes connecting up to the table. I think they're like connecting to the cups. Not sure. And then you have these flowing water kind of. Maybe they're I don't know. They could also be cables as well. Something to read into. Here we have the Ten of Cups. She talks about how the guidebook talks about how this one stream of water goes around and wraps around the rest of the dancing women as they're going through this procession and through the celebration here. In this archway. You have the Ace of Swords. I just watched Tarot Oracle's walkthrough of this, and he pointed out, I didn't even notice it. I'm like, it's right there. How did I not notice it? The little cap covering the tip of the sword. So you can slice through things, you can chop through things, but you can't pierce anything. Very interesting. Also, I like how there's like this flowing air, mist, smoke that's going to be throughout the whole thing. So you can actually see how there's wind indicated through these wind motifs here throughout the cards. I like that. So here I have the Three of Swords. Here she says that it's two men. I was like, this figure, I'm like, it's androgynous enough to me to where it's like, it could be a woman, could be a man. This one, a little more masculine in my opinion, the facial hair. You know, but the twist and the Three of Swords that's going on here, whether this person stabbed them, I think it's someone that stabbed them in the back and they're comforting them, like, as like, you know, get ready, this is happening, you know, a la, you know, Judas kissing Jesus on the cheek, you know, and then right there he's arrested, you know. It's like that. Something like that, I think. Four of Swords. Rest, you know, and the sword tips are like illuminated, you know, and they're like, here it's saying like she's opening her mind with you know, the knife is like opening up like her mental, you know, astral realm, whatever. I will say, I gotta go back to this. This card and the Emperor, I always forget there's a bird in it. So there's two birds. I see the gray one and the white one. I never see the black one. And the same with this one. I always think it's like a part of his shoulder, and it goes like this, you know, that his sleeve and his shoulder goes like that and like that. but it's a raven right there. I'm like, oh wait. Every time. Now I'm like, now I see it. Now I'm getting used to it. But like, and same with this one, I didn't notice there was 3 birds. And here she's talking about how they're starting to interlock, and these birds are escaping, but they might get hurt as they're like, you know, these swords are interlocking and getting closer and closer together, forming a cage. So yeah, here we have the 6 of Swords, travel, moving away, carrying the Numen and the 6 swords, the moon over her head. Yeah, I like this mountain motif being repeated here, because the mountain is a very important symbol. Here we have the 7 of Swords, where this one's really good. How there's like 2 words here in this one, that in this whole written thing that stood out to me. Let's see, that's Pentacles, 7 of Swords. Okay, punishment for betrayal. His calm face and the relaxed hands make this execution seem like a mundane formality. Normative morality and the consequences of breaking the rules. You see, and I'm always like looking at it. It's like, I see it's like 2 people, 3 people technically here. I'm not sure who else, but for the most part, 3 obviously different people. We have a darker hand and a lighter skinned hand here, and then we have him in the center here. So yeah, it's like, again, like, this is an interesting card here to see how it would play out in readings. 8 of Swords, we have her trapped. She's holding on to this rooster that's chained to her. She has an eye patch. There's, again, things to look at here. Here we have this one. Okay, now I need to reread on this one. She mentions this, like, hold on, let me see. What is it that she said? She said something here that I'm like, okay. So yeah, the wind blows between the swords, mental anguish. She is physically defeated, but with her last act of will, she raises her arm to free the bird of her sorrows. And so it's like, here, it's like, I believe this is the bird of her sorrows, I believe is what it's saying, but it honestly just looks like 2 little spheres with little eyes in them. Or something, or maybe she's taking this, or releasing these, and these are replacing those 2 spheres. Things to look into. And then we have the 10 of Swords, a little bit lackluster here. She does say that it's just like, that she is dying. You know, that's her depiction here. I wish there was a little something, a little more, you know. Usually it's like you see with these that, yeah, you do see the Rider-Waite-Smith traditional meaning, but there's a little bit of a twist going on here. There's always like a little bit of an added thing to add on an extra layer that changes the card in some way, shape, or form. But here it's just very similar. This is plain Rider-Waite-Smith 10 of Swords. It's fine. I get it, but, you know, after all this that you've been doing with the other cards, it's like, what are you going to do? You know, here she talks about these 2 dogs, you know, fighting, you know, over these 2 bound discs here. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? You know, it's a very combative card rather than one of balancing things or managing balance. But here it's more like a conflict of who's going to tip the balance. Here you have the 3 of Pentacles. This one's more of a spiritual, inner, internal work that's being completed. And here it's like the temple's completed and the construction is done. And here she's able to look within and do the spiritual work that she needs to do internally, I believe is what's being said again. It's again more, not so literal in its, you know, master plan, craftsman type of thing. The Pentacles are surprisingly very, very spiritual, I believe, in this depiction here. Here we have the 5 of Pentacles. It's like she just fell back and just like, I can't move on anymore, you know. Here I have the 6 of Pentacles, and it reminds me of it reminds me of Prince of Egypt when he leaves Egypt. You know, it was like when he first leaves and he goes out, but before he sees the burning bush, right after he leaves Egypt. So then here we have the Seven of Pentacles with the Bull of Patience here. Yeah, I'm not sure what else she says in the book about it, but again. Also, I like how they're fruits in the ground. Interesting take. Here we have the Eight of Pentacles, and here she talks about how this is a guardian with a tool or a weapon or for ritual, I believe, or for a procession of some sort. And she's like guarding it, you know, like and she's here to test you to see if you're gonna move through. Let me see what she says exactly here. A stranger hidden behind a ritual mask and armed with a primitive weapon sits beside the temple. Do they challenge us or do they call to us? Either path will require great work and will present equal great rewards. So very different from, you know, so again, it's like where you see in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, you see them doing much more of the physical labor and making tangible work. Meanwhile, here this is more of like the mystical inner work, you know, the work of the internal self rather than being expressed, rather than that of the physical work, which is quite a very daring thing to do. You know, not a lot of people do that. Here we have the Nine of Pentacles. Okay, it's the Nine of Pentacles. You know, the Numen are flying off with her riches. Here we have the Ten of Pentacles. I really liked what she said about this one, how it's the Numen, how the large construction, the building of civilization is intercepting and forcing its way into nature. And so the Numen are now having to move out of the wild grass and out of nature and move into the civilized, domesticated realm and change and adapt to that. And so they're transferring from nature into that. So it's definitely not that you know, family inheritance type of thing. It's more like adaptation and change over the long changes of how humanity has changed. So it's kind of like how we have emerged from a sort of shamanistic, you know, spiritual type of approach to spirituality way back before you know, civilization and, you know, domestication and agriculture and all that. We now have the instilled religion and the structurized religion, and so spirit has to, you know, it's like it's how we find and connect to the divine and spirit in different ways now, whether that be in a you know, in a church, or you know, now we're kind of trying to find a way back to that original state. And that's why I think a lot of shamanism has become a major interest at the moment, I think anyways. No, I don't know half the shit that I'm talking about, so I could be completely wrong, who knows. But Page of Wands, you know, again, adventure, you know, ready to move on. We have the Knight of Wands. Okay, on the camel, ready for a long journey. She also notes, you know, that they have supplies on their steeds, on their rides. The Queen of Wands. She does talk about how she can be an obstacle or a blockage, and someone that gets in your way. If I'm not mistaken, right? Is that what she said? Let me see. Which I'm like, huh, interesting. Let me see. Utterly unstoppable. Her only limit is one of potential inner conflict represented by the star. Oh yeah, that potential inner conflict. I don't get that. All barriers fall before the Queen of Wands. Never mind. I was wrong. I was wrong about that. No, I will say that the Massive Throne kind of could be a thing, but anyways. But yeah, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. I'm like, but it's fire, girl. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Now rereading, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what she meant by barriers. So here we have the King of Wands saying that he's in, like, how he has this power and control over almost anything. How the Numen has wrapped itself around his arm, I think it's assumed by his will, and how he's controlling this fire to burn upside down compared to right side up. Here I have the Page of Cups, how she is I believe they say that she is the fish, and she is leaping out of the water for just a moment, and then she's going to dive back down. I'm like, oh, I love that. I have the Knight of Cups. What was it that she said? Did she say anything about this? Seems pretty, you know, nothing groundbreaking here with this card. You know, it just seems like Knight of Cups, you know, person on a horse holding a cup. Sun behind her head. Oh yeah, extends forth her cup, passive, calm, and free from commitment. She's in love with love itself. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, nothing new. Like the Ten of Swords, there's nothing groundbreaking in this one. Here we have the Queen of Cups. Let me double check. I should. One of these days, I'm just gonna do a walkthrough where I read out, you know, the guidebook with with the card, but I don't think I can do that. Let's see. Holds the chalice from which pours the world's water, submerged, relaxed, and in full grasp of her power. She is at one with the subconscious rather than the mundane and practical. Her third eye signifies exceptionally strong intuition, perhaps even psychic skills. Okay. You have the King of Cups. They're saying that like the kings are very like they're very powerful. You know, here that it's like that he's summoning these old Numen from the ocean here, and you see these types of Numen in only one other place, and that is in the dark Numen. I think like you see the same motif with the hands rising out of this dark water here. I think, but it's this old ancient, almost forgotten like Numen rising out of it. So yeah, that's kind of like where the King of Wands has that power and control over energy and power itself. Here it's over the spirit and over the soul in a way. Here I have the Page of Swords. I like how like ornamental the swords are. Like here she looks like a Queen of Swords. I'm like, is that a knight or a Queen of Swords? I'm like, looks like a queen, like the headdress to me. And the Queen of Swords is very simple and very like toned down, I guess. What I do like is this strange thing that she does with the thrones. They don't really seem like, at first I thought the background, the sky and the clouds was the back of her throne, and this gray part, these pillars or these walls was the actual sky. But no, it's like here's her throne right here, very small, very like humble. The sky is just the back, and it's just sky. It's just the sky. I'm like, wait, you know? And then you actually see the opposite here with the King of Swords. What does she say about the King of Swords? I want to see here. And double check on the Queen, because I feel like I'm like, girl, that Queen is very, very lacking. Day's coming to an end. She's going to make her decision. Okay. Firmness and authority represented by her upright sword. Let me show this again. She's ready to confront all challenges ahead, but her face reflects the weight on her soul. That's what I was saying about. I'm like, she looks tired. Like let her nap, you know. Here we have the King of Swords rests on a concrete throne whilst raising his sword in a sight of determination. At the same time, the other hand is resting gently on the white dog, the strength and flexibility of a true leader. The crescent moon up above his head shows us that his knowledge is not only rational, but also spiritual. So look at that. He knows his shit. Here you have the Page of Pentacles. I like how he could also be a reference to the Six of Pentacles, how he's holding the branch and he's walking out. Here he's probably returning more well-dressed. He's traveled. He now has a hat. You know, he grew out his hair, you know. Here we have the Knight of Pentacles. She talks about how, like, the 5 elements, how there's 5 elements mentioned here. How we have the crescent, the sun, the pentacle, and the little charm right here. Each representing, like, 5 different elements, I believe, in for this. Let me see. What is it? The astral and the earthly have formed an alignment as expressed through 5 elements. Well, she calls them 5 elements. There should be like 5 symbols or designs here. The elements. When I think of elements, I'm like, okay, now I'm thinking of like what's water, what's fire, what's earth, which represents each of the elements. Anyways, the moon right here, the pentacle, the sun, the bull's horns, right? Yeah, and the moon charm above her head. Or wait. Oh, okay, girl. I was like, is this the moon charm or is this the moon charm? This is what I'm talking about. This guidebook needs to be like expanded upon. Okay, what are these little charms? I want to talk more about it, you know? What are we doing? You know, these little floating motifs here. You know how like in the Rider-Waite-Smith you see all the yods, the little dashes falling from the tower and in the moon. What else? And among the six and among the Ace of Swords, and like the Ace of Cups and Ace of Wands, those little yods things, she kind of does that, but throughout the whole deck with the little crescent here, with you can see them here like as this and this little dot here, this little crescent here, you know, it's like that, you know. I want an expansion on that. I like how she takes the Queen of Pentacles and gives her like a negative connotation, how she's a little bit too critical, and she's over it a bit, you know. She's very judgmental, I believe is what she's saying. But again, it's like it's contrasted with like how she's able to grow all these fruits and all this vegetation around her. Yeah, it's like there's an expression of vanity, you know, in a defiant mode, she says. Perhaps it is our own envy and admiration when looking upon her. So like maybe we're projecting that, you know. What are we projecting onto this expression that she has on her face? And then here we have the King of Pentacles. Let's see, what does he say? What does she say about him? Let's see. A tired soul, the responsibility of managing the realm's wealth. His reliable counselor, a crow, is there to support. Envied by others but personally exhausted. Only someone with much strength, generosity, and calm fortitude can hold this position. So there you go. That is the White Numen Tarot, and with some excerpts from the guidebook. Cardstock, thick. I mean, it's pretty firm. Like I can shuffle it, you know. It's not that it's glossy, but it's not sticky, which is good. Like I feel like we rarely see a deck that is glossy, but sticky these days. I know, I'm not sure how Schiffer's doing. But so far they figured out, oh, gilding is gonna make the shuffling much easier, and so far all the decks that they've had, like the Insight Tarot and the new Bordered Marielle has that, and I don't know what other decks. But yeah. Anyways. It shuffles pretty well, but I can only shuffle it like this, you know, upside down. You know, but let me see. Let me try it the other way, because the other way, it's a little too chunky for my liking, you know? But I mean, the chunks can also, you know, it also adds a difference to shuffling, but like this, like that, that's much better to me, at least. Let's see. Let's see here. Look at that. When I did my original, like, initial introduction reading, I got this card as well. I really like what she did with this, how she changed it, you know. And it makes sense, you know. She's depicting what she's changing, you know. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's like if you're gonna change the meaning of the card to something else, at least depict it right, you know. Like the Eight of Pentacles, she really did like a lot of different things. I'd have to look. There's also like apparently an interview between the artist and Liminal 11 as well that they did. I don't think I watched it, but I need to watch it. If not, I did watch the one between for the Cosmic Slumber. But yeah. Anyways, that's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this deck. It's an interesting deck. I feel like there's some ideas that can be expanded upon in a book or something, or touched on or explained from different sources. Because again, it's like the concept of the Numen, it seems very different, you know? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video, whatever that is. Maybe I'll do a walkthrough of this guy right here. Maybe. We'll see. Anyways, bye everyone.